City Matters.
Welcome to HMTV. My name is Alan Mindel, your host right now, and I'm joined for Influential Origins for my second episode with Mazi Melesa Pilip. Mazi, thank you so much for spending more time with us.
Of course.
It really is my honor and privilege.
A pleasure.
So, Mazi, when we left off at the end of our last episode, you went from a girl, a 12-year-old girl, that came and knew very little, landing in the land of Israel. And we finished with a strong, independent Israeli soldier who had just graduated, with a beaming father that had all the pride in the world to see his daughter in uniform, so much that he didn't want to see the uniform come off.
Yes.
So tell me now, you became a gunsmith in the paratroopers division, which is really one of the top divisions in Israel. So tell us what a gunsmith does and tell us about the paratroopers.
Of course. So gunsmith is a person who in charge of all the weapons. You have about between 2.5 months to 3 months of training. You have to learn about every weapons out there. Every weapon, from the most easiest weapon. I don't know if the weapon name is called...
the Galil?
Before the Galil, Uzi. They have the Uzi, the Israeli
I was always
weapon,
terrible at the
and
Uzi.
Then the Galil.
Yeah.
And then you go high in very heavy weapons.
Yeah.
So you learn to operate it. You learn to fix it. You learn to make sure that everything is working smoothly. I did about almost 3 months. Once you finished, they will take every person to different units. So they took me to join the paratrooper brigade. And then, you have your base, you have your soldiers, and on top of helping every soldier that was in my base, is also I was in charge of the weapon that's needed during the war. The M16 and every other weapon, the big weapons that every time has to be maintained, ready to serve if there is any emergency. So that was incredible experience. Again, you see a skinny girl holding those heavy weapons and operating them and fixing them and making sure everything is ready to go when there is a need. And it was beautiful. It was just the moment that you realize you can do everything, even though the hard things you can face in life, but everything is possible. And it was an incredible unit. I loved my unit. They are incredible soldiers, and they are there to serve Israel, to protect Israel, to defend the country that they love so much. And I served there for 1 year and 9 months. Although I wanted to be a fighter in the front line. That was a dream, by the way. But back then, they did not allow women to be in the front line. That wasn't happening. Now you see female in the front line, female doing things that men are doing.
My recollection of it, because at the time when I lived in Israel in 1990, they had a guard duty program. So you could do that as an American.
Nice.
The amount of proficiency that you had to have in your weapons, you had to be able to take it apart and put it back together in about a minute. I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So for every single one of them, you could, in your sleep, take each one, each little piece, and put it back that quick through. But I also recall, I think the reason that women were not serving in combat roles at that time was because Syria at the time, Assad, who we know has just left the world stage, thank God for that.
Absolutely.
It was the standing policy of the Syrian army that if they captured a woman, they would rape them to death.
Yeah. Yep.
And so men would be at risk for their life, but the risk of rape was the one thing that the Army said, we will not.
Makes sense.
It makes sense.
Absolutely.
And that's what people don't get about the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
That's the reason why, since October 7, when they took our female soldiers and our women, and that fear of, being in the hands of terrorist supporters, terrorists itself, as a female, nobody can
understand it.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, what was a war crime now, the sexual assault of women became somehow resistance.
Unfortunately.
Never before in history was that part of it. So now you're serving with your paratrooper group, your soldiers. Are you still in touch with some of them today?
Yes, we have a WhatsApp group. That we opened that way before, even the October 7, years before. Since I came here, 13 years.
Right.
The funny part is, when I moved to the United States, I text them, and they asked me, where are you, Mazi? I said, I'm in New York. And they told me, we also, one of our friends from our brigade, he's also somewhere in the United States.
Right.
And I said, really, where? Can you help me find him?
Right.
You're going to laugh. And while we all trying to search, one day at Parkwood, I took my children to swim.
Right.
And then as I was walking out, somebody in the back calling, Mazi. I turn around, I see Oad, my friend from the Army, from the same unit.
Wow.
We could not even believe that we both live in Great Neck. What
are the odds through?
Unbelievable. And then quickly we took a picture and we sent the group, you're not going to believe, but we live in the same
we found
city.
each other.
Yeah, found each other.
So now you finished your service and you had your options, and here the person who didn't speak Hebrew or read Hebrew, you decide to go to Haifa University.
Yes.
And you studied a pretty serious subject. What was your subject you studied?
Yeah, I joined Haifa University to study occupational therapy, and which was very hard to get accepted. But I knew education the way to make it. I knew there is no other way. I wanted a good life. I wanted something that's going to make me proud and my family proud. And I also knew this is the land of opportunity. And although joining the academy was a different level of a challenge. It's not school. This is a big university, Haifa University. You have thousands of them.
Right.
Coming independently, studying independently. And I knew there is no other way. And as tough it was, I did not give up. I finished my 4 years, and I got my degree. But while I was studying, I met my husband, who was born in Ukraine, grew up in the United States, and came all the way to Haifa, to Technion, to study medicine.
Well, Technion's one of the greatest medical schools
Definitely.
in the world.
Definitely.
And we'll get to him in a second, which is a great story.
Yeah.
But, the other thing that people don't always realize about Israel, and of course, culturally, there's a mix of all kinds of Jews from all kinds of places, but people also don't understand. There weren't just Jews in Haifa University.
No.
There were Christians, there were Muslims, Arabs of all kinds there too. And you weren't friends with just one group of people. You made friends with all kinds of people.
Absolutely.
I think you had your two best friends. Three.
Muslim.
All Muslim.
Yes. Great people, 2 female, 1 male.
Right.
Good people, had the same opportunity that I had to join Haifa University.
Right.
And we were studying for 4 years. We were together. We were helping each other while I had my Israeli friend as well. So that's the beautiful thing about Israel. You have here a big university that's open to everyone, regardless of your color, your culture, your faith. Everyone have equal opportunity to everything included higher education.
Everything is merit.
Absolutely. You have to work hard. You have it. The opportunity is out there, and everybody has equal right to make it if you want to make it.
Right.
So for me, when I hear the nonsense and the lie, the misinformation that Israel is apartheid country, Israel is not giving opportunity for others to grow, it's spoiling me because this is absolute lie. Who do you think you are telling me what is Israel is about when I grew up as a black woman, had the same opportunity like any other person in Israel, including joining the army and then to join the Haifa University and having friends who weren't Jews, they were Muslims, studying with them and getting the degree that each one of us wanted. And you telling me Israel is apartheid country, you telling me Israel doesn't give equal opportunity for non-Jews is absolutely total lie and disgraceful.
What's so even more disgraceful is Israel believes in that in its core. But the countries around Israel, if you're in Jordan, it's not like that.
Absolutely.
If you're in Egypt, it's not like that. If you're in Saudi Arabia, up until a little while ago, you couldn't even drive a car. You couldn't travel without a mail telling you where to go. Forget being in the army, picking your education, regardless of where your background is. When you were in the University of Haifa, there were people that were straight, and there were people that were gay.
Absolutely.
And they were entitled to live their same life and live their life the way they chose it, even though if they lived in any other country around them, they would have been killed immediately.
Absolutely.
This is the only place.
The only place.
And yet it's the one they call the apartheid state.
That is such a disgrace. No word to describe that. And you know what? Even from my own memories, and living in Haifa 4 years, studying there, if there were any conflict between Israel and the Palestinian people, do you know the Muslims, Israeli, the Arab, will have a rally inside Haifa University? They had the freedom to do so.
Freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
Because it was the freedom to say what their position was in Israel.
In Israel and Haifa University, they had the opportunity to do it. Nobody interfered them. Nobody stopped them.
And no one judged them for it.
Exactly.
They were loved the same way when they came back.
100%.
They were still your friend, and they were still friends of yours.
100%. So
Yeah.
that's what Israel is about. That's the truth about Israel. That's
Right.
fact. And if
That's
you don't
what they hate
believe
the
me,
most.
go check it out.
Yeah.
Go there.
Yeah.
You know, at least two of the professors of they were teaching in a Rambam hospital in Technion. They were Muslim Arab that were teaching my husband, and they are the head of some of the department in Rambam hospital in the north in Haifa. The head of the department.
Yeah. So now, somehow, your husband gets to meet you. How did he get to meet you?
So he just came to Israel, to study medicine.
Right.
He has some family members in Israel, but he hardly knew Hebrew. And I met him so twice a week I will go to Rambam Hospital to study, where he was studying medicine. And just in that building, we saw each other, and he was very nice. I wanted to be nicer to him as well because he's alone, and I understand being alone, you don't have family members. Right. And I was nice to him. He was very nice to me. I never thought something serious will come out from that simple conversation. Right. And I never thought even I will move to United States.
Well, you finish Haifa.
Yes.
And then you somehow end up going to Tel Aviv University.
Yes.
And what did you study in Tel Aviv University?
I studied diplomacy and security. as a part of the political science department. And it's a 1-year program, 12 months basically, very intense. But it was a great opportunity because people who came to study, usually they are like council members serving Israel in different, as a foreign ministry department basically. Again, even in Tel Aviv University, you have so many people, Jews, non-Jews, Muslim, Arab, coming to get higher education, just like Haifa University.
Now, what made you go to that program?
So what happened is I finished Haifa University. My husband finished his medical degree.
He wasn't your husband yet, though.
No, my boyfriend.
Yeah. Right.
So, but then when I came to this, I always wanted to serve. I was very active. I used to be the head of the Ethiopian Israelis student union. So I always wanted to lead. I wanted to be involved.
Right.
And then when I saw this program, I just loved it, and I said, you know what? Why not? Let's get some education, and let's lead. You know,
Right.
That was always part of my heart, I guess. And I used it when I came to the United States. Basically, I was traveling around the country.
But when you were in Tel Aviv University, where was he?
So what happened? We came here,
Right.
and then he was doing the residency. I finished my master degree, and we were like, he would come to see me, I would come to see him. It was like for 12 months of program,
Right.
and I waited for him to finish his residency, and then I did my internship at the United Nations for 3 months.
So you were in New York.
I was in New York, yes.
And then so was he.
Yes.
And then something happened that you decided, okay, maybe there is a future here with him.
Definitely. I knew there is, I knew the relationship was very, very serious. And although I didn't want to leave Israel, it was the hardest things ever. I just, I felt so comfortable living in Israel. I felt good about living in Israel. And then when the relationship was very serious,
You had to make a choice.
I had to make a choice. And that was the hardest decision ever. To leave your family, to leave your friends, to leave the country, and then to be immigrant again with new language. English is my third language.
Right.
And new culture. Although there is a lot of similarity between the Israeli culture and United States, but there is a lot of difference as well.
Lots of differences.
Yes. But I knew he was the one. And we wanted to get married and start family. And 18 years later, we have 7 children.
7 children. 18 years, 7 children.
Yes.
I mean, and I think as I mentioned to you before, he said, I'm working on myself. And I said, if people looked at both of us and had a guess, if they looked at my stomach, they'd think I would have the 7 children.
You
not
look
you.
wonderful, Alan.
Yeah. So you then found yourself, how'd you get to Great Neck?
So he's a cardiologist.
Yes.
So the first 3 years he was doing internship at Bronx. So we were living in Bronx. And then when he wanted to do a fellowship, he came to Stony Brook. So we discovered Long Island.
Right.
So we used to live in a Huntington area. But there weren't a lot of Jewish community around me.
Right.
And kosher is something that was very important. And I was traveling from Huntington to Plainview to bring kosher meat. And I just felt it was very hard. Again, being alone, you don't have friends, you don't have community.
Right.
And I used to tell my husband, like, okay, you're going to finish fellowship, we're going back to Israel. It was for me, it's like, I'm waiting for you for a little bit, but we're going back.
Right.
But then he discovered Great Neck. He told me, I found for you a beautiful community. And I said, okay, let's check it out.
Right.
I swear, Alan, when I came to Great Neck, I felt so good about this community. I felt I'm home. I'm not alone.
Definitely weren't alone.
I felt like it's just a very diverse community.
Yeah.
A beautiful, diverse community. And getting kosher food was easy for me. And I just felt like this is a place I would like to raise my children. This is a place,
where they'd be welcome.
Yeah, I just felt good about the community.
I mean, because Great Neck, and I've lived there for most of my life, you have this combination of, even just in the Jewish community, there are the Ashkenazi guys like me, some of which are the children of survivors, and we have that story. And then we remember, in 1980 when the Shah fell, 79, but 80,
yes,
so many Persian Jews came and fled, and they came to Great Neck. And then Israelis also found home in Great Neck, because it was always a welcoming community, that was a melting pot of all these different types of people. It's a melting pot of people that aren't Jewish.
Exactly.
It was always just this place where, it was always a well-to-do community, but a community made up with people that came from all over.
Immigrants. We have a big Asian population living
probably
in Israel.
One of the largest percentage-wise on the islands, or in New York even.
Yes.
And all with the only similarities being the strive for excellence in education, right?
Yep.
The strive for great medical. I mean, we're home to one of the great medical systems really in the country.
Yes.
In Northwell, an $8 billion concern, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all based out of there, and it's so unique in a lot of these traits that there really isn't a lot of places like it.
Yeah.
But when you first got there, and in a way kind of like I sort of still am, you were originally a Democrat in Great Neck.
Yes, it's true.
Because you believed in women's rights, you believed in the rights of people of all different sexual orientations and all races and all colors and creeds. But over time, that didn't work. Why didn't that really work, if you don't mind me asking you?
When I moved to this country, I loved everything about this country. And the Democratic Party I joined, it was the Democratic Party I felt like I can relate to that values. But with the years, it changed. And I changed as well. See, it's not the same person, a young girl who just came to a new country. It was now I'm a mother.
Right.
And when you are parents, things are, the way you look in life is just basically changing. Right. And I think about my kids, where I would like to raise my children. Their safety come first. I want the government that's going to protect my children. Right. I want the government that's going to protect my country, our borders.
Right.
I don't want fentanyl to come from the borders.
Right.
We have a serious crisis here when we think about overdose and fentanyl. I want a government that supports law enforcement. Period. We need to support our law enforcement. If we need to make changes, we should have a nice conversation. We can pass a law that can, make sure our law enforcement doing their job correctly. However, you need to support our law enforcement. There is no such thing as I will support a government that does not support law enforcement. It's not going to happen because the safety of my children come first. That's include law enforcement. The reason why Nassau County, the safest county in the country, because we support our law enforcement. We are giving the tools our law enforcement needed because they can do their job. So this is no longer the 20 years old girl. I'm 45 years old mother. I have 7 children. I want a government that's going to fight hate. Do you know I got involved in politics during the time that my son was getting ready for bar mitzvah.
Right.
And then there was conflict between Gaza and Israel. Over 3,500 rockets were sent from Gaza by Hamas to Israel within 10 days in 2021. Anti-Semitism was out of control during that time. My son wanted from his grandparents from Israel Star of David necklace, proudly he wanted to go with that. Do you know, as a mother, I was terrified if that's the right thing to do or not. I never told him no. I told him, of course, that's beautiful.
Right.
Grandpa and grandma would love to give it to you. But inside my heart, I was very much afraid. And then I asked myself, something's wrong here. I have, thanks God, back then I had 5 children and I was pregnant. And I said, how am I supposed to raise my children in this country if I am afraid to give them a Star of David necklace? Something is wrong.
So you needed something to change.
Absolutely.
And you needed to step off the sidelines and be involved in it.
Exactly.
Believe me, I relate to that because October 7th, that's when I was never a guy that would wear jewelry. That's when I made the same decision too for me. And I said, if I'm worried about it, then I have to do it. And we all have to do it. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Of course.
So with that, we have one more chapter we need to talk through.
Okay.
But this does it for this one. So thank you so much. And we'll be back soon with one more episode with Mazi.